everybody. Welcome back to our podcast, You Don't Understand. So, for today's episode, we wanted to continue off of where we left off from last episode and discuss my teenage years, basically. This was a time that was pretty difficult. It was pretty hard, not just for me, but for my mom too. Um, Me going through a whole new bunch of emotions, a whole new bunch of experiences, and my mom being having to deal with those experiences and dealing with those emotions as a parent. And basically, this is the point in our story where we start to clash. So I'm gonna hand it over to my mom now. She can explain a little bit of her side.
Yeah, as Diksha said, that this is the time when things started clashing. So up until that point, I guess I would say around seventh grade. Seventh grade is when you started, you having that emo phase of yours where you wanted to just wear all black and nothing else. And I was like, and I mean, I love color black, don't get me wrong, but not so much that I become completely like from top to bottom, I'm all black. And I was like, okay, this doesn't sound right. And she didn't want to wear any other clothes. So, yeah, I guess that those were the times when things started changing. And from you being the daughter who even to wear every day morning, you would ask me, okay, Mama, can I wear this or can I wear this? So, you still wanted my advice or my not, I won't say permission, but you looked for my validation in some ways that, okay, can I do this or can I not? But then things started changing slowly and gradually. Your speech started changing towards me. Your tone started changing towards me. So those were the subtle changes where I was beginning to see. But then also I thought, oh, maybe I've also been through teenage years. I know how it is, and you're suddenly like feeling you start feeling that, oh, you have an opinion, you also have a voice and you want to express it. So I was like, okay, let me give that space, and that's what I was trying to do. But of course,
Things did
things
not go as planned.
I thought I had a handle over it, and or maybe I was living in that la la land that I'm having a good handle over it. But when things escalated, it was gradual, but I really never expected or imagined in my wildest dream that I would have to take that journey with you because you were so close to me, my heart. And the parent, the insecure parent who always had this feeling that you should not have to go through anything which is unpleasant. Like, I'm okay with it, but nothing should happen to you. And in the end, when the time came and I saw you going through the same, the fears that I had, all my fears were beginning to come true with you. And that was very devastating for me also as a parent. But more than that, I was like, what can I do? Like to not lose you in this whole process because I almost felt like I'm losing you. You're in my relationship as the mother and daughter that we had. I'm losing that. And that was what that kept me looking that what can I do more? Because growing up, I didn't have the best relationship with my parents, obviously. And but at some point, me and my mom became good friends. At some point, my mom was able to strike that balance with me where I could open up about certain things, which was quite a big deal for me at that point of time. So I was like, how do I come to that point with you? And especially when you are not willing to give me a chance.
I'm not budging.
Yeah, I want to know what you were thinking, because you were definitely not going giving me any chance. Like,
I think looking back, at this point, I think I just built up so much resentment. Um, I think I discussed about this in the last episode, the resentment of like, well, why do I have to step up and why do I have to do this and why do I have to do that? Nobody else has to go through these. No one else is not living with a dad. Like, why is it that my life has to have these experiences, but nobody else does? And it's a very immature way of thinking looking back at it, but obviously my 12-year-old, 13-year-old mind is all angsty and just wants to blame somebody for my problems. And the only other person I can blame who's an adult in my life is you. So that's where the blame went. I think personally to you, what really made me feel like, oh, she's not gonna understand, I don't want to have to hear it is, and I think this is a mistake you might have unconsciously made. You always said you were a very open parent, you were very understanding, you want your kids to come and tell you stuff. But if it was something that like didn't really align with your way of thinking, it was shut down. Like that's how it felt to me. Like you would shut it down immediately. I like one prime example, excuse me, is the whole crying thing. I remember like you had I was I'd come to you about something and I was crying, and then you gave me this whole spiel about, Tuk Tuk, like we're from a strong line of women and you don't need to be crying about this stuff, which, yes, that is true. And that is a good lesson. And I still, to this day, hold that. But in the moment, I'm not trying to have you tell me stop crying. I want you to like be like, Tuk Tuk, it's okay. It'll all be better. I want comfort. Um, and so it was moments like that where I'm just like, well, she's sitting here and telling me that she's a very chill parent and she's open and I can come tell her anything. And yet when I come and tell her, if it's not the way she wants to hear it or not what she wants to hear, it's like it's not valid. So obviously she's just saying stuff to say stuff. Like she's not gonna let me say what I want to say. And I think that's what really shut me down. And I was like, well, then there's no point. Like, what's the point of coming and talking to her if she's not going to understand? So I think that's what really set into my head that like genuinely there was just no point. And I think I I don't think I ever like brought this up to you until like many, many years later. Um, and while I don't regret it, I do wish I was able to articulate that feeling a little bit better back then, so I could have asked you. But I do remember being a child and being like, just being like, why can't she just like comfort me? And I feel like this was an issue that we had forever. It's like, I don't want advice, I don't want a solution. I just want you to hold me and tell me it's gonna be okay. But yeah,
So, yeah, so going to that thought of yours that just hold me and tell me it's going to be okay. Um, so as I guess as I always say that one is your own intrinsic personality that you are at the core, and then your experiences in life, right? So, personally, I am a very strong person. I'm a very, very
you
opinionated.
know.
And I want to own it up to it. Is it good or bad? I don't know. But at least that's who I am. I should be aligned with my own reality. So, yes, my experiences in life have made me a very independent and strong person. I'm not talking about financial independence as such, but I'm talking more about emotional independence. I do not depend on anyone to emotionally comfort me because that's how my life has been, and that's what life has taught me, that for me to be able to be peaceful and I always felt that I am my own, like, I don't depend on people in that sense. So, or to keep me happy or to keep me like, oh, somebody is going to come and comfort me. I should be able to do that for my own self. Of course, there's a whole background for me to be like that, but of course, it's not about that right now. And so here I am raising the next generation that's coming through me. And when you would cry, my thought process was, because I'm so independent in my thought process, I'm like, no, it's okay. Whatever has happened. Let's just focus on the solution, because that's the only way how I used to deal with those situations, because I didn't have my mom and dad to comfort me or to guide me. I had to teach my own self. So when I was teaching my own self, at some point I figured, I mean, I've had many days when I've cried in my pillow the whole night, but I didn't have anyone to go and talk to about those issues or the situations I was facing. So then I would be like, in the night after crying, I would be like, okay, I've cried. What did I do by crying? Nothing. The emotions are just out there. But in the end, what am I going to do? I'm going to deal with the situation. That's the only way I can move forward from wherever I am. So that is a hard lesson I learned. And I was like, I don't want you to go through that hard process of crying and then figuring out that, oh, okay, and sometimes I feel that not many people might process the way I processed. So I was like, okay, no, I need to make sure that let's not focus our energy on sitting here and crying and howling about it. Let's focus on what can we do to find the solution to our situation. So I was more focused on that. But I also understand that I'm coming from a space of a 30 plus year old female. And here I have a 12, 13-year-old child who doesn't have the same mental wavelength as mine. So, as much as I want to give you the solution or direct you towards the solution, I still have to first comfort you because I'm the parent, I'm the mother. But again, because of my insecurity, I was more focused on how I should take you from this point forwards rather than, okay, we've done the crying. Let's move on. So
I
it
think,
is,
yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's where that disconnect is, where it's like you were very solution based, and I knew that we would figure out a solution eventually, but I just needed some type of comfort in the moment.
mm,
And I remember years later us talking about this, and honestly, I'll be honest, till this day, I get what you're saying by saying that, like, well, when I was growing up, I didn't have anyone, so it was me on my own figuring it out. And that's why when you were raising me, it was very much, okay, how do I get her to the next step, to the next step, to the next step? Um, but it was very hard for me to understand why that comfort aspect was just missed altogether. Like, why was that not at the forefront? Because I know you care. I know you don't want to see me crying. I know you don't want to see me in this position. Um, so why wasn't the focus like, okay, how do I make sure she starts feeling better, not just is taken out of the situation entirely? Does that make sense?
yeah. So I guess as a parent, how we feel that, or at least I'll talk about myself, that I felt that, oh, the comforting and taking care and showing that affection and love and like literally like a bundle that, oh, you'll be fine, don't worry about it. That is to a certain age. Then you kind of in your life as a child, you move on to the next phase where you are more like a young adult and you're beginning to do things more independently and emotionally also you're beginning to grow now in so again as I said I was a first time parent. There is no textbook that teaches me, okay, what can I do. So uh I was I was reading this somewhere to just a couple of days back, maybe 2 3 days back, and it was so apt. It was like uh the first child grows with the mother, the second child she raises.
Hmm.
So you and me were growing together, you know. So when I was in that phase, I all the emotional because you know what? Now that you brought it up, and now that I'm thinking, maybe because that whole love, that the cuddling, and it doesn't come naturally to me as much. I mean, giving hugs and warm and giving you all the love and affection. I have a different way of showing it. But as a kid, I did that to you. But as a young adult, probably because I never had that relationship with my own mother.
Hmm.
My mom never hugged me as a child. Like she actually hugged me, like don't worry, or that motherly feeling, because my situations were such in my house that I felt more responsible for my mother and I was trying to protect her from whatever she was experiencing in life. So I always never felt as a kid or as a child with her. I always felt like I'm responsible. I have to take care of her. So I never shared that with my mom. Maybe now that I'm talking to you, this thought is crossing my head that maybe because I never had that comforting that, oh, let me first comfort you because I didn't see that. I was like, you're in a young adult now, and like, let's move on. Let's move
Yeah.
on. Let's focus on what we need to do because that baby phase is gone. Let's not sit in that baby phase, you know? Maybe that's what my thought was, I guess, at that point of time. And people say that a lot of your things are rooted from your own upbringing, your own childhood, right? So maybe that could be the reason that even today I guess now I'm more open of giving hugs and more uh, I still don't cuddle you. I mean, even
Oh,
now I'm not that kind of a person. I have my ways of showing my affection, and I hope you are experiencing that. I'm a
okay.
very affectionate mom.
Good now.
I certainly don't want to make you feel at this stage that I'm not that mom. But yeah, I guess that is what it is. It doesn't come naturally to me. So that's very
I guess
sad.
it was just unfortunate for me. Like I was just dealt a bad hand.
Probably because and I always saw that in you. Like you always wanted um like in that moment, like your world has come crashing down and that's it. Now you just want somebody to sit with you and cry with you and you and make you feel that, oh my God, the world is over for me, you know, and the other person should also feel the same way for you. I always felt that that will pull you down, that will bring you down, that I don't want you to stay in that space of victimhood or of being feeling like a victim or feeling like miserable. But I do agree that um, my responsibility as a parent is first to comfort my child.
Mm,
That is my first job, right?
yeah.
Once I am able to comfort and calm my child down, then we are on a page where the child is ready to listen and I can give some advice or we can move forward from that point. So I do agree, and it is a shortcoming in me that I'm not very I lack that. I lack that in me.
I just think it was
But
a,
yes,
I
my
don't think it
job.
was necessarily a lack of ability to comfort. I think you pointed it out, the disconnect actually was you thought that sitting there and comforting me was me expecting you to wallow with me. Like we both spiraled together. And I think you just weren't able to understand that I just needed someone to be there and then let me cry it out, you know, let me just get all the emotions out, and then we can go on to the a solution and the problem solving and the advice. I just needed that little like someone there while I let my emotions out to just hug me and be like, it's gonna be okay. I think you were so ready to go to step C, we forgot about step B.
And I guess it also depends, like coming from India, you know, I guess it's our society also that conditions us in some ways, right? So how crying is taken as a sign of weakness. Like if you're crying, you're weak. Um, I certainly, when I was growing up, I took my own crying as a sign of strength because I was able to cry out, release that emotion. But then after I'm done crying, I would be like empty and ready to like think what next. But when it came to you, I saw it as a sign of weakness.
Mm.
Why? Because the insecure parent in me is like, oh my God, you know, why are you crying? Stop crying. Let's not sit here and cry about it because I'm looking at it as a sign of weakness, which I don't know. Maybe it is a very unconscious conditioning that happened, which kind of got multiplied because of my insecurities. And then your nature, which is you're extremely emotional. I'm not that emotional of a person, like, or maybe I am, but I have a better handle on my emotions, you know, so I don't show my emotions. Very rarely I show my my low frequency emotions. I'm more on the space where I'm like, okay, I have a handle of everything. But when it came to you, I always saw it as a sign of weakness. And that even made me scared that, oh my God, my child is like sitting and crying, like she's not even strong enough to handle a situation.
But I think you and it wasn't like you kept that insecurity to yourself. You relayed to me the fact that you thought my crying was a sign of weakness. And I think that is what exasperated the problem even more. Because going into middle school, I was, I think I wasn't like, okay, looking back, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was in the throes of depression going into or like eighth grade going into high school. Um, I was deeply insecure. I was deeply reserved. A lot of issues that had been stirring in my own life. I felt like I had no one to turn to. I felt very alone, very isolated. Um, and then finally, I decided to speak to my guidance counselor about some of the issues that were going on, because with this depression, like I'll be honest, like I did go through a phase of self-harm, all that stuff. And when you got to know about it, the response is was not good,
Like every other parent in a denial.
basically. And the response I got from that, which honestly, like I think that situation really was like peak, like, oh, something's very wrong between the two of us. Because here you are, you just found out that your daughter is going through depression, she's going through anxiety, self-harm, and your response was to do absolutely nothing.
But
Um,
you know what? I'm not saying that I am going to speak in my defense. That's not the right way I want to put it out. I definitely want to say that I had never experienced anyone in depression, you know? And again, me being me, I have had much difficult life compared to your life. I'm not saying that we have to compare each other's life, but I'm just talking about my thought process. So I had a much difficult childhood and youth, and I came out of it in my own strength. So I was like, okay, how can you be depressed? Like, what is the reason for you to be depressed? You have a big house, you have all the food in the world, you have all the luxury in the world, everything is being given to you. You don't even have any hardships as such that you have to like really worry about your mom and dad having a bad relationship or bad marriage, or you are having some really nasty relationship, or like those kind of things, right? On a superficial level. So I'm like, no, 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 this is just a phase. The denial was not that I wasn't aware that depression happens to children, but I was definitely not educated enough to understand that what really depression feels or means like. I was more in my own headspace thinking that, oh, this could be another phase that you have been through. Like first the emo phase came, then something else happened, then now you are in this phase, you know? And the only person I could talk to for guidance was your own counselor who evaluated you. And I asked him very clearly that, do I need to show her to some counselor or get some psychiatric help? And he said, no, 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 we are monitoring. And if anything major happens, we'll let you know and stuff like that. So I actually, rather than digging more deep, because I anyways was not fully convinced that it is depression, on top of that, his words were like, oh, if the counselor also thinks that it is not really something so serious, then let me not even simply give this thought in my head, you know? So now I'm in my own headspace, not even thinking or realizing that it's not about me, it's about you. And what are you going through? Are you really feeling it or not? Are you really depressed or not? Um, so I guess, as I said, that so many markers we miss with the first child. I'm not saying that that's my excuse, but we are not aware as much as we think we are, and we know. In my head, I was like, oh, I know what is depression, and you're not depressed because there's no reason for you to be depressed. But I didn't really understand. I didn't know. I should have read more. I should have really understood what it is, then maybe observed you for a couple of days to see in what spectrum you are fitting. Like I had to educate myself, which I did not. It was an easy way out for me to talk to the counselor, and the counselor who's already like I'm putting my faith in him, and oh, okay, fine. So it just added up to unfortunate for you. But in the hindsight, now when I look back, of course, you had to go through a very difficult phase, but that is what also helped us to become or come where we are today.
I agree. I
That,
definitely will say that entire phase in my life was it is still a sore spot because of just how isolated I felt and how disconnected I felt. And like, because you're sitting there back then saying, like, I care, tuk tuk, and all this stuff, but I wasn't able to see it because, like, I asked for help and I didn't get any help. And that's where my thinking was. Like, it was very short-sighted, where I was like, you just found out that your child hurts herself, and your response to that was basically nothing. And it honestly felt more like I was the villain in the story because the response I really got from you was, well, why are you doing this to begin with? Like you said, because you were very honest with me. You were like, well, Tuk Tuk, your life is amazing. There's nothing for you to be sad about. And I'm like, and to be fair, there were certain things that happened in my childhood and in my life that I still hadn't shared with you yet.
yeah.
Um, but it it honestly just all stems from the fact that, like, that resentment was just so built up. I genuinely did not think you were going to be able to understand anything I said. Like, I felt like we were genuinely speaking two different languages. And I think that situation really just made that entire resentment and anger and the disconnect take a life of its own. Like, I don't, it took us a very long time after that to, like, come back together.
I also feel that, sometimes, like you are a very open person. You would come and talk to me about so many things, right? But so I was under this impression that, oh, Tuk Tuk comes and talks to me about everything, right? But then your deeper thoughts, the things that you're really genuinely feeling deep down, you never shared those. So on the surface level, I felt, oh, she's a happy kid, and maybe it's really not depression because you are going out with friends, you're doing everything normal, right? So when everything on the surface level seems normal, then how would someone go dive deep to even say, oh, there is something there, unless and until something really happens, which happened. When it happened, then I was the one who, like, no, this is something that I have to act upon. The one night when you had that nervous breakdown and you were on going, and I forced you to come and put your head on my lap, and I was like stroking your head, and I was talking to you because that day the parent in me was like, no, 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 okay, this is not normal. This is not normal because uh, that outburst that you had is not you. As much as I don't understand certain things about you, but as a parent, I have raised you. So I know that what your threshold is. And if you are beyond that threshold, then I know that this is it, like, and that's why I was like, okay, we need, and then we reached out to that psychiatrist, and he just gave you some whack. I don't know what he did.
We had to do a couple turns before we found someone we liked, but
Yeah, but
I thought this was all eighth grade. High school was a
I
whole other ball game.
yes, high school was whole other ball game. And I'm not to be blamed for that.
Um, we'll get there. I do agree. I do agree. Um, High school, I can't put all the blame on you. I made a lot of choices. I made a lot of decisions. High school is your time to explore, and I took that a little too literally.
But I do feel that, for our viewers, of course, right now we're just sharing on a very lighter note, our like a high level journey of how we started, where we ended up. But maybe after this episode, I do want our viewers to know that now we will start picking up things like, as a first generation being raised by us over here, like immigrant parents. And not just that, even as general, like a parent-child relationship, there are so many fine things that happen between the relationships that we miss. And sometimes our egos come in between, sometimes our ignorance comes in between, sometimes our conditioning comes in between, even though our gut is guiding us in a certain direction, but we are not listening to ourselves because we are conditioned in a certain way to look at things. And I guess at some point we will start taught picking up those things to see so that um, parents who are raising children can get a perspective of the child. What is the child's state of mind at that point of time, even though the situation is the glass empty or the glass half full. I am seeing it full, the child is seeing it empty, or the child could be seeing it full and I'm looking at it as an empty glass. So I guess I want the viewers to see that they can see the child's perspective and the children can see the parents' perspective, so that even if they are not able to have that communication with their own parent, but if they are able to even understand where the parents are coming from in general, what insecurities and all those stuff, maybe they might have a better chance, or they might at least give a chance to their relationships.
I agree. And I think also, I wish I had an example of how to articulate what I was feeling at that age. Or even, I guess I could say the same thing for you because this is the first time a lot of people are feeling all these emotions and feeling all these, or going through these different experiences. And it is much easier to see an example of how to articulate these things and then have those conversations between you and your child or you and your parent because you already know how to really put those feelings into the right words. I think that's something we've struggled with for a very long time too. So it would be nice to
Yeah.
be that example for other people. And like you said, we wanted to lay like the groundwork, the foundation of our biggest disconnects and what's caused, you know, our issues in the past, like the really big things that caused our issues in the past. But going forward, we do want to basically pick specific topics, and then really dive into our experiences within the confinements of those topics and um, basically the growth of our relationship within those topics. So yeah, you guys can also leave topics down in the comments below if y'all ever have one that where you're like, well, me and my child are struggling with this. We want to hear y'all's take on it. I mean, we would love to make a whole episode and have more engagement with our viewers that way too, because at the end of the day, this is for you guys. So,
So, you know how you used to always say that you don't know how to talk to me?
mhm.
In my way, I was still trying to use the best words possible or the most motivational way to talk to you, or to talk to you so that you don't get upset. My whole idea was I don't want to upset you. But every time I would say it, and you would always say that you don't know how to talk to me. You need to rephrase, or you, and then I used to say, okay, you tell me, if the same sentence that I just told you, how would you want it to be told? So that maybe, because I didn't know any other way. As
Mhm.
I said, there's no guidance. So I didn't know any other way. So I was like, okay, why don't you tell me what I should have said it different, for me to even see the difference between what I'm saying and between what you would like to hear. So I mean, of course, no. So the point that you made, that sometimes we might have the knowledge, but we don't know how to articulate it
Yeah.
so that the other person can get it or understand it. And I guess that is also one thing that we are trying to do through these podcasts, is to give that voice and those words for people to even approach a certain topic if they have to, because in the end, um, the relationship is very, very, very dear. We cannot lose the relationship for things that could have been worked and could have been made better. I'm
Mhm.
not saying that anything is going to be perfect because there's nothing, anything called as perfect, but there's always a chance of improvement and there's always a chance of making it better from where you are and a healthier relationship. And it's very fulfilling and very contenting to at least have that, you know. So yeah, that is what it is. So as the Diksha said that leave your comments, leave your suggestions. We would be more than happy to pick up certain of those topics. We will definitely dive more, but we definitely want to give our viewers the understanding that we are really being very truthful and honest about whatever we are doing. In fact, right before we started this episode, Diksha is like, "Okay, let's understand how much are okay with me putting things on table,"
Yeah, I'm not
because
going to go overboard.
yes, you don't have to expose your whole life here, but of course, we want to be as honest and as truthful about our experiences because that then it makes sense. And if you're not genuine, then it doesn't even make sense doing what we are doing. So I want our viewers to at least get that understanding that we are being genuine and we really, from the bottom of our heart, want to see if any of our episodes help our viewers and impacts them in some ways, in a positive way, obviously, then it is all worth it. It's all worth it.
Well, on that note, I think we're gonna stop the episode here for today. Like we said, going forward, we're gonna pick more specific topics and dive deeper into those. So leave a comment if y'all want to hear about specific topics that we've gone through within our relationship and within our lives. Um, and do like, comment, subscribe to our channel so y'all can keep updated with all the videos that we post. We usually post every Saturday. So, yeah, we hope you enjoyed and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much, Diksha, for doing this with me. I'm loving this journey with you. To go back and then revisit everything. And as I'm doing that, I'm learning. I'm still learning, and which is amazing. That the fact that I was able to even point that fact that maybe I never had that relationship with my mom. Probably it did impact me in my raising you. But that's a good learning to know and a realization, and I'm feeling very happy about it and very liberated that at least I have an understanding. So yes, thank you everyone for watching us, and please like and what subscribe and share.
Yeah, subscribe, share everything.
I'm very old school. I'm ancient.
We will see
All
you
right.
guys next week. Bye
Yes,
bye.
next week. Bye bye.